There are 4 ways that we experience emotions. Some of you guys may have heard me say this before. 1, reaction to the conditions of the present moment. Something happens in the present moment and it elicits an emotional response from our body. Somebody jumps out and scares you and you feel fear. Okay? Number 1. Number 2, we are built to connect with other people. We are herd animals. We are tribal. So we have a mechanism where we can attune to another individual and feel in our body what they are feeling in their body. That could be called compassion. That's a skill that we can actually cultivate and become very good at. Number 3 is what my teacher would call the pool of poison and pain, what Eckhart Tolle would call the pain body. And basically, it's somaticized emotional trauma, that something happens in our life that exceeds the bandwidth of our capacity to metabolize in the right now moment. So it's stored in our body for later processing. And then months or years go by, and for some reason, the intelligence of our body determines that now is a good time to release that grief. So we feel a moment of grief that it's not rooted in the present moment, doesn't have anything to do with what's happening right now. It's old. And it takes actually training in clarity to recognize when do our emotions, when are they releases from the pool, when are they old, when are they the letting go of old somatic emotions, and when are they based in the right now moment. Now, the 4th one is the one I want to talk to you about tonight, self-generated emotion. How many of you have ever noticed that you can think your way into an afflictive emotional state? You can totally remove yourself from the conditions of the present moment and stress yourself out, worry yourself, make yourself anxious, make yourself fucking pissed off. You can be taking a shower and having an argument with your wife in your head. That's toxic. The intelligence of our body doesn't know if that emotion is real or imagined. It's still in our body. And toxic emotion, afflictive emotion, takes a physiological toll on our health. In Chinese medicine, they have all the organ maps where they map specific organs to specific afflictive emotions. If you go to a Chinese doctor with a liver problem, he's going to ask you about anger and sadness. It's a more of a holistic view. So you can train your mind to, 1, stop generating afflictive emotions, and 2, you can train your mind to generate positive emotional states. That's easier said than done. It's totally possible. The picture that I showed you guys earlier today, my constant thoughts were fear, sadness, anger. I mean, it was just a constant running script. And that took a physical toll on my body. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I don't do that at all anymore, but I do it a lot less. So the way I think that meditation ties into this practice of detoxification is training the mind to stop generating afflictive emotions. Now, like I said, that's an interesting, that's a nice little sound bite, but it's not that easy. But with practice, we develop what's called the metacognitive ability to notice what your mind is thinking about. So we become more awake, more mindful. That bird's eye starts to come online, and we're able to watch what our mind is doing and prevent it from running those old scripts of afflictive emotion. Now, oftentimes what happens is, and again, this takes a tremendous amount of clarity to catch, but if you really practice, you can see this happen. I talked about the way that our body releases emotions from the past. And this doesn't need to be like some, what they call a big T trauma. like something really devastating that happened. It could just be an accumulation of a bunch of little things that happen in your life. You're a little kid, your dad freaks out on you because you had a rough day at work. You get beat up at school. Um, you have a breakup. Your grandmom dies. It's very rare that people fully metabolize the trauma of their life as it's happening. Most of us are holding on to things. And it takes a lot of practice to let everything go and to really become an empty vessel and be totally available for the moment. Anyway, what happens as our bodies are trying to release something old, because it's an afflictive emotion that we never had the bandwidth to actually feel, we never had the capacity to actually feel. In a split second, our minds determine it's not safe to feel that, and the mind will then generate an afflictive emotion to save us from the trauma that we never had the capacity to face. Does that make sense? So if we can train our minds to stop generating afflictive emotion, then in our sitting practice, our stillness practice, we can start to turn toward the um, emotional trauma that we've been carrying for quite a long while, and we can allow that trauma to start to unwind without needing to put the lid back on with some kind of mental thought every time the body's trying to release. Now, the good news is that as you release those toxic emotions, there's more energy available for you. It takes a tremendous amount of energy to hold those toxic emotions beneath the surface of our awareness. And as they start to bubble up, as we start to get still enough that our body finally decides, okay, it's safe enough to start to bring this up. As that starts to happen, it has to be felt on the way out. This is where the skill of equanimity comes in. We allow the moment to be difficult. We allow the arising of fear, anger, sadness, grief, whatever the case may be. And then we have more energy. We're no longer holding things in and holding it together. I know, I will tell you right now, I have a tremendous amount more energy now than I ever did. I'm 35 now. I just turned 35. The picture I showed you, I was 22. I could run laps around that thing. So in this way, this is the way that meditation, the practice of meditation, is a practice of detoxification. One, prevent the mind from generating afflictive emotion. Two, allow for the unwinding of stored somatic trauma.